Everybody, I'm Jack Hammer, and welcome to Niner Chatter. Tuesday nights, we're back at it. We took last week off due to some of the issues that were going on with the call-in shows, but definitely got a workaround for that. So there's a couple of different ways that's might look. If you're somebody that I'm used to working with and haven't come on the show, we'll go ahead and bring you up. Otherwise, I'll be using a different overlay to help kind of protect myself, as you all know, with the story of what happened with Jesse Naylor over at Last Second Sports doing this. And so just trying to be careful here. The biggest thing with this is having fun, coming on, getting with the 49er faithful, letting you guys call in and share your thoughts on the team. And really for tonight, the theme is how does this team get better and be able to maybe compete for a playoff spot here in the second. Really, it's not the second half of the year, but after the bye here, the next 12 weeks, 49ers don't have a break. They're at 2-3 right now. What number do you think they need to get to in order to make the playoffs? What are the things that you think they need to do to improve on? How can they do that to get to that number? And then also, there's other topics, as you know, that have been going on. Who's going to be quarterback this week? Is it going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance? It's certainly sounding like it's going to be back to Garoppolo this week. I think we'll find out more about that tomorrow and Thursday when the team gets back to practice in preparing for Indianapolis on Sunday. There's also the Deebo Samuel situation, 15 targets through the first 5 games of the season. Fewer targets than Mohamed Sanu. That's just a number that shouldn't be there. There's been the comments by John Lynch in the media over the last week and a half now with regards to Ayuk and what he needs to do in order to be getting on the field more often or getting more targets himself. So lots of different ways that we can go with this. Just whatever you think. Whatever's kind of floating around in your mind as far as 49ers, let's go ahead and hear it, give you your opportunity to come in and shout it out. And we'll see how long we can go tonight. Tonight, we'll get this started off with one of the usuals, Korean 49er. How you doing? Oh, I can't hear you. Let's see. You're not muted. No, I don't. Okay. Yeah, I don't hear him yet, so we'll come back to him here. That happens sometimes with this, still technical difficulties. Just looking at it already, we have James in the comment section. James is saying that he thinks that in the NFC, the wild card teams are going to be the Vikings, either the Cards. Okay. The Cards or Rams, the Vikings, and either the 49ers or the Saints. So I'm thinking he might be saying there's the team that doesn't win the division out of the Cards and the Rams is going to be one of them. And then you have the Vikings, and then it's going to come down to the 49ers and the Saints. I tend to agree with that. I think that's about right. I think the 49ers are probably battling with the Saints for that last spot. He mentions also that the Panthers are done, which I agree on that as well. I think the Panthers, what we've seen of them is they're a pretty good team if they have the Christian McCaffrey, that Sam Darnold plays pretty well, but when McCaffrey's not there, Darnold struggles a little bit more, and so we'll see how that works out. So, all right, let's go back to Korean 49er. Let's see if if it's working for him tonight. Is it working now?
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Now we got you loud and clear.
Yep. Not sure what happened there. It kind of is what it is. So, I do have a couple of concerns about the team coming up for the Indianapolis game.
Okay.
To me, I think the right side of our offensive line has more holes than a block of Swiss cheese.
I agree with you.
To me, if I'm DeForest Buckner or any of the other pass rushers for Indy, I'm going to line up on that side and have the 49ers offensive line show me that they could defend and protect whomever the quarterback is for the game, because I feel if it's Jimmy, I think he's going to be a tackling dummy for DeForest Buckner and whoever else is going to be on that side of the Colts defensive line.
Yep, I agree with you, especially if with Buckner, if they get him on the left side of the defense going up against Brunskill, I think that's a bad matchup for him. Or even going up against uh, the center there, uh, Alex Mack. I think those are bad matchups for the 49ers against DeForest Buckner, and could potentially be a game wrecker. We saw them have a lot of trouble with J.J. Watt on the inside. It was more of an issue for Mike McGlinchey in the run game against him. But definitely, this is a game where a player of DeForest Buckner's uh, caliber can really cause some problems for the 49ers.
Yeah, and Grant brought up a good point in his stream with Coach Johnston. Emmanuel
Mm-hmm.
Mosley has been playing pretty well the past couple of games. I really didn't notice him making too many mistakes on the field, and I'm very happy that if we could find another corner on the other side of him, I think they could be at least solid for the rest of the season.
You're talking about Emmanuel Mosley?
Yes.
Yeah, Mosley's been solid. I think we knew that he was going to be relatively solid. He was one of the guys that you knew that you were going to have Mosley on one side and Verrett on the other. Everybody was focused on Verrett because he looked so good last year, but Mosley was going to be was a guy that I was looking forward to seeing as well. And I thought he'd play good. It's just it's kind of fun to see how the 49ers have been able to manage their way through this period where they really the last 4 weeks where they're juggling the corners opposite of Mosley, and they've been able to do a pretty good job of holding up.
Yeah, and I believe on the coaching staff so far, the best coach is D'Amico Ryans because outside of that hiccup against Green Bay at the end of the game, I believe he's gotten the defensive play very well and keep the team in the game outside of the offense not being able to put up any points for him for a little bit of margin.
Yeah, I agree. I think the defense has played well, other than when they've gotten into situations where they're a little bit, how do you say, where they're in more. It's not a prevent, but where they're a little bit relaxed. Like what we saw at the end of the Detroit game. We saw it a little bit at the end of the Philadelphia game, and then obviously at the end of the game against Green Bay, where they kind of get into that prevent. It's not even a prevent, but they just get into that zone defense where they just rush forward and fall back, and they've really struggled in that throughout the season. So as long as they go out and play their normal defense, so they've been pretty solid, and that's hopefully that we'll see that more often going forward.
Yeah, that's hopefully that we get more of the base defense instead of playing zone and prevent, unless it's the last play of the game, and then you got to play prevent if it's a close game. So I think I can understand that.
Yeah.
One other point I was thinking about is I understand the heat with Kyle Shanahan, and I'm part of that heat because I don't think he's improved in many aspects as a head coach during his time with the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the problem. Here's the big problem. If Jed decides to let go of John and Kyle, it goes back to Jed. His track record with coaches and getting GMs for the team has been a dumpster fire. He fired Jim Harbaugh when he had 4 great seasons and 4 good seasons, and his worst season was an 8-8 season. Mm-hmm. And he's got all these other coaches that were more or less dying dogs. And to me, it's like, how many more times can we give him a chance to hose it up in the search for a coach and general manager?
Yeah, it's funny. You can't fire the owner, which he famously said a while back after he bungled a bunch of the hirings before Shanahan. But in reality, if you could, you would, because his family took over from the DeBartolos when they had Steve Mariucci was the head coach, and they were able to get that thing back to a playoff contender and get to the playoffs, and that they fire him after a playoff run that saw the team come one of the biggest comeback wins in the playoff history. Then we saw them move on from him, and it's been ever since that point. It was pretty much been down for the 49ers, with the exception of lucking into Jim Harbaugh in 2011. He had made his way to the point where he was the top dog on the coaching landscape and the hottest commodity coming out of that season to be promoted up into the NFL, and they got him, fortunately right out of their backyard here at Stanford. And, we saw that whole thing just fall apart, and it's too bad because that was as close to what the 49ers fans of the 80s and early 90s dealt with, because those teams were under Harbaugh, and those first 3 years were dominant, going to the NFC Championship all 3 years. And like you said, their worst year was 8-8, and I really feel like a lot of the reason they fell to 8-8 was because of the issues between with the owner. It really fell apart right around the time that Daniel Kilgore got injured in Denver, and then they lost that Thursday night game on Thanksgiving to the Seahawks. And then you had the tweet from York, and after that tweet from York, it was pretty much downhill from there. I think the team only won maybe one game from that point out. It was not very good. I think the next week they lost to Oakland and so on. And and he really bungled it. And then you look at the hiring of Shanahan, and from an optics standpoint, I understand it, because at that point, he was the hot commodity. He was coming off a season in which his offense had led the NFL in points and all kinds of things, but they lost in the Super Bowl. And I don't know. I've never really been a big fan of Shanahan. He's a coach that has put up some good numbers at times, but I think with him, it's more of a name recognition, and there's a lot of folks around the league who were very successful playing for his dad that are commentators in games around the NFL. And there's people who really recognize that, and I just think it's an issue. And in terms of his success, his track record of success or lack thereof, this is his 14th season in the league. So through 13 seasons, his offenses for an offensive genius to only have his offense score in the top half of the league 4 times in 13 years, that doesn't make sense to me. I don't think you call somebody a genius when their team doesn't score points. But he's really good from a fantasy football perspective. His team puts up a lot of yards, and that's kind of that's part of the issue, I think, in today's day and age, is that a lot of fans play fantasy football, and so they're focused on those types of things. And so if I play fantasy football, I'm going to love some of the guys on his team because they're going to put up a lot of yardage. And but we're seeing some struggles out of him, and I don't know if he's the guy long term. And this season, it's going to be interesting to see if they can pull out of this. The 49ers haven't made the playoffs after starting 2-3 since 1972. So, long answer from me. Did you have anything else that you want to throw out? Oh, you're muted. Can't hear you. Nope. What happened there? We lost you again. So, unfortunately, we can't hear him. And thank you very much for joining us. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take him out of the chat for now. And then I've noticed over here on the side, there's a few of you that have reached out and said you're concerned about the issues with the channel and what kind of took place over there on Last Second Sports. And I do have a thing to block you, but since I know Korean 49er from having him on the show a number of times, I decided not to use that. But if Waruna comes on, I might use it for Waruna, because we don't necessarily want to see Waruna when he's talking. Maybe I don't know, and that's a joke, Waruna. Of course, we want to see you because I enjoy talking to you. But he brings up a lot of good points. The 49ers offensive line has been an issue, I think, for the team this year, more so than what you see in the in the rankings, like for PFF and stuff like that. The analytics and that kind of stuff. They're saying that the 49ers have offensive line is, I think, better than they are. We've seen the right side of the offensive line especially struggle in games this year. really throughout. They really got dominated against Green Bay in the run game up front. They struggled a little bit in different areas. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens moving forward for this team and where they're going to go from here. So let's jump on to our next caller. And hey, Rich, how you doing?
Good, Jack. How you doing?
I'm good.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Anyway, I wanted to ask a question about Shanahan, and one of the things I was thinking of is his loyalty. I think he seems like he's a very loyal coach, which in a lot of cases, coaches have their guys, but I think with him, it's almost damaging. I don't know. I haven't gone back to look, but I don't think I've ever heard of him letting go of any of his coaches. I know some of his coaches have moved on, being promoted or moving on to other jobs. But case in point, he brings over guys that he feels more comfortable with, even if it's to the detriment of the team. For instance, the center that we have, Alex Mack, who probably is past his prime. And I wonder what your thoughts are on his loyalty and whether that is kind of hurting the team a little bit.
Well, I do get the point that you're making in terms of he doesn't make a lot of changes to his coaching staff unless they move on their own. And there hasn't been a lot of that going on throughout the 49ers staff until, with the exception of Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh got the promotion to become the head coach, and then he took with him a couple of coaches, LaFleur and also John Benton, who was the offensive line coach. But other than that, most of Kyle Shanahan's coaches haven't moved on. They've pretty much been here and stayed with them. And, from that standpoint, I don't know if that hurts them. I do think that maybe sometimes on the player side it does. I think where the player part hurts the 49ers is it hurts in the lack of development for some of these guys, right? So for a player like Diamador Lenore or Ambry Thomas, the rookies that are here, and they're sitting there, but instead of playing them, they bring on Josh Norman off the street. And that's not to mean that Josh Norman is not playing well, but you've got these rookies that you just spent a third round and a fifth round draft pick on, and instead of playing them, they're sitting on the bench, and so they're not getting better or not getting reps when the guys ahead of them have been hurt, and it would make sense for them to get their time. So, kind of, what does that say about your draft picks? Is my question.
Yeah, and I was the other coach I was thinking of was Rich Gangarello. He left him to the Broncos, and he didn't succeed there. And then next thing you know, they're bringing him back. Well, he obviously, the thing is, he's not developed. He obviously doesn't seem to be developing the quarterbacks very well. And I've heard it mentioned on with Grant Cohn, bringing in a guy that could develop these quarterbacks, and it just seems like Shanahan wants to go with guys he likes. And I get he trusts them, but if they're not getting the results, that's where he really differs with Belichick, because Belichick is, he's not a guy that wants to be loved. He's a guy that wants to succeed. And it's kind of different with Kyle. And I don't know. The other thing that not concerns me, but that I get frustrated with is hearing the hierarchy of the 49ers. After the whole Harbaugh incident, one of the things that York wanted to do was make sure that he established a hierarchy, because he wanted to prevent what took place between Balky and Harbaugh from happening. And when he hired, Shanahan and Lynch, they sat down, and the things that they said was, this is the hierarchy. Shanahan's in charge of the 53-man roster. He gets to choose who plays and who doesn't. And Lynch was in charge of basically the executive stuff, the draft and all of that. And I know a lot of people keep saying, well, Kyle Shanahan has final say. Well, if that's the case, it almost feels like we're reverting back to the Harbaugh days. And that's very concerning because, I get that Kyle and John have a good relationship, but, we've already seen little things here and there to indicate that could fracture and bust at some point if the team keeps heading south. And it really worries me for our future, especially, when we've invested in a quarterback that looks like he could be a very good quarterback, but, in a toxic environment, who knows? It's a very fluid situation, I would say, at this point.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting deal between the dynamic between Shanahan and Lynch and kind of the way that all plays out. And I think that more than anything, Shanahan really needs, I think, somebody to be in control over him. I think he might have the ability to be a good coach, but he needs somebody to really take the day-to-day operations and run with it. And in some ways dictate to him a little bit as far as what's happening with the team. And I wish that they had a stronger general manager role to do that with. In the Harbaugh days when it was Harbaugh and Balky ran the player personnel, and Harbaugh was pretty much just a coach. And there was some friction as a result of that, but that's because Balky didn't do well after 2011, right? He had good drafts at the beginning, but he fell apart afterwards, and so. The team started to see those issues. The team didn't, when you get to these big games, the only thing I could say is, get to these big games, you lose the Super Bowl, you lose the NFC Championship twice. Things can become a little frustrating, and then you got a guy like Balky. I think it's Balky chirping in the owner's ear about how much talent you have on the team, and anybody can coach it. And York's not able to see past that and gives in and makes a mistake.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your time. I'll hang up and listen, but I just wanted to give you a shout out. I really, really love watching you and Grant on the film breakdown on Wednesdays. So I enjoy. Yeah, I can't speak. I enjoy watching you. So keep up the good work, man.
I appreciate it, Rich, and definitely we'll be back at you next week with film breakdowns and all kinds of other stuff. So thanks for tuning in and thanks for calling. I appreciate talking to you.
All right, thanks.
All right, have a good night. All right, and I clicked on the guy from Wales on accident. How you doing, Gav? You there?
Oh, what's going on, Jack?
Yeah, it's okay.
My good friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm absolutely fantastic. I'm on top of the world. I am. I'm excited now for the bye week. See what's going to happen now next week against the Colts, because that's going to be a tough game, I think. A very tough game.
I agree. I do too.
Yeah, so right, I want to touch on everybody now is on the fire Kyle Shanahan bandwagon, right? Now, I was on that bandwagon last season, right? Everybody gave him a pass last season for the injuries, right? And let's be honest, it wasn't because of the injuries. It was because he got us to the Super Bowl, right? Yeah, it wasn't because of the injuries, right? Yeah, all the 49er fans, right? Yeah, everyone gave him a pass because of the Super Bowl, and I didn't, right? Yeah, I blamed last season because the expectations we had, and it was just so crushing. It was to watch what we went through last season, especially after going through what we went the season before. And I think that Kyle Shanahan should be held at fault, not just for this season now as well, but last season it was all in. It's all in. Do you mean? But I've been on the fire Kyle Shanahan bus like the last season I have anyway. Right, so right, right then. So right, I got a question for you, right here. Serious question, right here. How can Aaron Banks be worse than Daniel Brunskill? Because it's not possible. It just cannot be possible. Explain that to me, please, Jack.
Sure. I think the issue that you have with Brunskill is, well, first off, in the run game he doesn't get any kind of push, so that's part of it. But the other part is in the passing game he really struggles with guys getting to an edge on him, really getting to his outside shoulder, making him have to turn and block. And I think it's because he's on the right side instead of on the left. He played at Notre Dame on the left side all the way through, and I think he's struggled with that. But that part of it is the same thing that you see Daniel Brunskill struggle with. Daniel Brunskill and Alex Boone both really struggle with that. They're fine if the guy just bull rushes into him, but if the guy tries to take an angle on either direction of them, they really struggle. And so I don't think, we don't really get to see enough of Banks at this point in practice to know if he's improving. Well, right.
How can we judge him if we haven't seen him?
Well, that's right. No, well, what I'm saying is, from my standpoint and from the media standpoint, we don't, even though we're at practice, we don't really get to see them work those one-on-one drills and things like that. So it's hard for us to say he's getting better. The only way we're going to know he's getting better is if he's either playing on the field in a game or the coaching staff comes out and says that he's getting better and he's going to be playing. So, although the only thing we have to base it off of is what we saw of him throughout July and August. And throughout July and August, it wasn't better than Daniel Brunskill, but it's getting to the point where I think the second half of the season, if the 49ers aren't going to be a playoff team, I think you might see him get on the field at that point. Because at that point, it's a matter of just get your guys out there and let them practice. Basically turns the games into practices.
Next question, that was when are we going to see it, Aaron Banks? Yeah, when?
Yeah, I think you're looking at Banks coming in. If the 49ers are out of playoff contention, say week 10, 11, then at that point maybe they step in.
I say throw him in now. Do you mean it can't hurt him? Do you mean at the end of the day we just want to see him? At the end of the day, it looks like Kyle Shanahan is throwing John Lynch under the bus with all his draft picks. To me, that's how it looks like. Do you mean? But I'm biased against Kyle. Do you mean I'm against Kyle. So, right, this leads on to my next subject. Right, what's happened to our special teams, right? Because since the drop by Cannon, right, we've seen nothing from our special teams, Bailey. We didn't see much against them, against the Cardinals or anything like that. So, what's happened? Are we taking a backward step, or what do you think? What's happened to our special teams?
I don't think the special teams has taken a backward step. I think they're just as bad as they were last year. They were bad last year. Yeah. They were one of the worst teams in the league as far as returns, and we've seen that this year with the exception of one play out of Trenton Cannon against the Packers. The rest of the way, it's been, if they return the kickoff, it's an adventure to see if the 49ers can just get back out to the 25-yard line. So. From a special teams perspective, the only guy that's done anything with them has been their punter. He's been pretty good. He was a special teams player. I think he was a special teams player of the month the first month of the season. But
that field goal, he probably would have been this month's too as well.
he definitely would have been in a better spot, right? The 49ers would have been in a different spot too. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, Robbie Gould, what's happened to him? How much money are we paying him now to sit on the bench as well? Do you mean he needs to get his arse in gear? He does,
Hey, Robbie Gould gets paid a lot of money to be a guy who, forget about the fact that he's hurt. Guys get hurt, but he gets paid a lot of money for a guy that isn't really from 50 yards and out is you really don't want to try those field goals, and he gets paid quite a bit of money to be that guy.
Right then, so my last topic now before I go right now, and it wouldn't be a call from Gavin, right now, Notorious GAV, if I didn't talk about Juice Check, right? Yeah, the drill, right now. So,
well, what about real quick about Juice Check? Why did he fail on the quarterback sneak? Why didn't he pitch that out to Trey Lance?
Right now, I can't right now sit. Call in and say Juice is the best player ever when he pulls a play like that. Right now, I don't believe what he did. I couldn't believe it when he did it. I thought. They know it's coming. Why are you doing it? What are you doing it for? And if you watch it on the replay, you can see Trent Williams he's rolling out to the left. He is already. There's acres of space on the left. Trey Lance is there waiting to get the ball, and it's obviously designed for Trey Lance to go left, right? Yeah. And Juice took it upon himself, right? Yeah, to do that. And I want to know, is that a case of there being like a dissension in the dressing room with the locker room between Trey Lance and the hailed glorious one, hail Jimmy G.
Well, hey, Jimmy Garoppolo is the man when it comes to the quarter. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I don't think that play was necessarily a result of any of that kind of stuff. I just think that this 49er team this year, that's just another one of those little things that they've, Trent Williams went in yesterday and talked about how the 49ers, this isn't a big deal. You shouldn't be in panic mode and all those kind of things. But this is a team that's continuously not done the little things to win football games, and it's biting them, and that's why they're at 2-3. and I think a loss or two more in these next couple of weeks really puts them out of the playoff race. And this Colts game isn't one that I think is quite as easy as people might think.
It's not. I mean, the Colts are a good team. They took the Ravens all it. Do you mean the Ravens were quite like, if it weren't for Lamar Jackson, they would have beat them. Do you mean, the week when I watched them, do you mean that's the last game I watched with the Colts, and they looked really good, they did. They looked solid. Do you mean, especially up front as well, like, you know, do you mean they got a serviceable quarterback, do you mean? And, yeah, they could get the job done. But, right, I don't think if Juice Check was a captain right near on the team, he would have made that play. He wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done it. If he had a green sticker on his helmet, he wouldn't have done it. Jack, he wouldn't have. I'm telling you now. Right near.
I think you're right. I think that we need to get Juszczyk to be to be one of the captains and turn this ship around. Otherwise, the 49ers are in trouble.
That's one of the dumbest plays I've ever seen in my life. I gotta give it to him. Like, for somebody who's ranked number 97 in the NFL top 100, that was like top 100. I mean, plays you balls right up.
Well, the thing is, as soon as he went in motion, everybody I think that was watching that game kind of felt like they knew what was coming,
Yeah.
and then to take the snap and do that, it was just it's been a comedy. Yeah, and it's been a comedy of errors for the 49ers the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, right then, I'm going to shoot off, and right there, thank you very much for putting me on the show. Before I go, I just want to plug Shawdoll's channel, SG Sports Talk channel. Right, everybody subscribe to him. He's doing a sterling job on there. He's got some awesome videos on there. Yeah. Jack, you keep doing the great work, like, you know, I mean, I love you to bits, like, you know, thank you very much for letting me call in. Right,
No, Yep, it was great to see you, Gav, and definitely if you're not already subscribed to Shardall's channel, get over there because those guys put together a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, subscribe to him, Hammerheads. Hashtag Hammerheads.
Right there, there you go. Perfect. Right. I like it.
Right then. Go Niners.
Yep, go Niners. Thank you, Gav.
Right.
There you go. See, the international part of the Niner Chatter show comes through. Real quick before we jump into the next couple of callers, Tobin says this is a meltdown. It'll be thermal with a loss to the Colts. Thank you for the donation on that one, Tobin. And then also there was one more. Trust is lost with this regime. It's eye rolling, and I think that you're onto something there, especially when the stuff that's been going around. This week, after the comments made by John Lynch last week on the radio, and then the stuff that he was talking about recent in his other interview with Matt Mayoko for NBC Sports Bay Area, those are comments that I don't think people are necessarily rolling their eyes about if that happened 6 months ago. But with everything that's been going on and the way that those questions were answered, just doesn't cut it for the 49ers anymore. I'm going to jump on real quick. I'm going to bring on Shardall. Shardall, how you doing? You there?
So my question is to you for when do you think Trey Lance is going to reach stardom?
When is Trey Lance going to reach stardom? Right after you. Well, you've already reached stardom. So I'm going to say probably in 2022 you'll see Lance. That's going to be the guy for Lance.
So, do you agree that they should start Jimmy Garoppolo for the Colts game, or do you think that they should kind of hold back that for a little bit? Because isn't Jimmy Garoppolo injured?
Garoppolo's the one that's healthy now, and Lance is injured. I think that they should start. If their goal is to try to make the playoffs this season, I think you need to start Jimmy Garoppolo to do that.
How does that happen? Like,
what
how
do you
does how does Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy and then Trey Lance gets injured? Like, that's why I was always saying don't start Trey Lance. Why are you starting Trey Lance and then you got him injured now? So that's your fault for starting him. Like, you shouldn't have started him in the first place. I mean, like, bad decision by Kyle Shanahan to start Trey Lance. I mean, you're a head coach, man. Think about what you're doing. Don't be just. Now you have Trey Lance injured now, so you're gonna have a lot of Niner fans coming at you like, take Shannon fire Shanahan because Shanahan's not thinking properly.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
He's not thinking in the right way. You now you have Trey Lance injured, the rookie's injured now, and Shannon, I think Shannon should go to Vegas. I don't want to see him in San Francisco anymore.
Yeah,
go to Vegas. Like, I bet they'll be. I bet their fan base will love you there even more than the fan base loves you here. So I bet. I mean, just go there. Just get a contract, sign a contract with Vegas, and just go there. I mean, we don't need you here anymore. You already caused us too much trouble in San Francisco. We don't need you here.
So you want to get rid of
No, because he's putting Trey Lance in the game, and he got Trey Lance injured now. So
okay, no,
I don't want him here. I want
yeah,
him in Vegas.
You want to move Kyle
He'll be
Shanahan
better.
to Vegas.
He'll be better there. I'm 100% sure that Kyle Shannon will love his job there in Vegas.
Yeah,
So,
he'd probably like the quarterback there maybe a little bit more than he has here.
yeah, because he's just because the amount of trouble that he's causing us too much, man. Like he's causing us too much trouble, man. I mean, we already have enough trouble already, and we don't need a head coach coming in and exacerbating that anymore.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So
I
yeah,
like
get
the
him out
energy.
of here. Sign. I'm gonna start a petition, and I want to get as many signatures as possible to get Kyle Shannon out of here.
You're gonna start a petition to fire. All right. Well, make sure you get that up on your Twitter.
I'm gonna start a petition. I'm gonna start a GoFundMe page and see how much money I can raise to get Kyle Shannon fired out of San Francisco.
Okay. All right. There you
And
go.
my goal is I'm trying to get I'm trying to get at least 500 signatures, at least.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, you're number one. I need 499 more signatures to reach 500.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, we need to get him out, and I bet all the Niner fans will agree with me that Lynch should be fired and Shanahan should be fired.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't like John Lynch.
You don't like John? I like John Lynch.
And Jed York should also go. Jed York should be gone. Shanahan should be gone, and Lynch should be gone.
So what you're suggesting then is what you're suggesting is they should sell the team to me like what Sunil did last night on his show with me, where they John or Jed York sold the team to me for $1 and I took over the team.
Yeah, you should do that.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, you're up to 400. You only need 498 more because Gav said that he's going to sign that too. So now you only have 498 left to go.
I need 498 more signatures to get Shannon out of here.
Yeah, and while Varuna makes a good point that I can't sign that, it's a conflict of interest. So you're back to 499.
Yeah.
What else you got going on, Chardal?
But for the Colts and Niners game, what's your score prediction? And how many yards do you think Jimmy Garoppolo's going to throw for?
Oh boy, I'm going to say I predicted the other night. Last night on Hammer Nails with Jesse that it was going to be 23-20 49ers, and that's one of those deals I'm not really comfortable with that. I think that the Colts have a really good chance of winning this game.
But it's always great coming on your show. But Baller is doing a play-by-play. He's announcing doing a play-by-play commentary for the Warriors and Lakers game.
Okay.
It's the first game of the season, so I have to jump to his stream now and see what's going on in his stream.
All right, he's watching. He's got the Lakers game on.
Yeah, he got the Lakers and Warriors game, and he's doing the play-by-play commentary for the game. So,
all right,
I don't want to miss out on any of that because I'm excited for the Warriors opening up the season, and I want them to start the season off on a good note. Get their first win of the season, go 1-0, and see how well if they can keep that streak going.
Yep, and I know you're a big Steph Curry fan too, so I know that.
Yeah,
so.
I'm pretty excited because they say that Steph Curry's 142 3-pointers away, so he's chasing history tonight to surpass Ray Allen. So I hope he gets that. I hope he gets that accomplishment tonight because there's like 4 quarters and anything happened tonight. So I'm really looking forward to Steph Curry surpassing Ray Allen because that's going to be a big accomplishment for him if he makes that happen tonight. So I'm really crossing my fingers to see if that happens tonight.
Okay, there you go. And then when we're done here, I'll be jumping over there as well. See what the score is.
Okay, so I'll see you in there.
All right, you have a good night, Chardal.
It's really great coming on your show always.
No, I love having you in here, and I hope you have a good night and go Warriors.
And I hope you have a good one, and I hope the Warriors get the win over LA tonight. Beat LA.
There you go. Beat LA. There you go. Sounds good. Have a good night, Shardal.
See ya.
All right, so I've got three guys on the line here. I got Jeremy, Coach, and Amin in that order. Jeremy, hopefully he's around because I don't see him in his picture. He might. Jeremy, you around? Are you out? Do I need to come back to you? Shardal is not happy, by the way, about with Coach Shanahan. That came through. I don't know where Jeremy went. I don't know if he's still around. So we'll remove Jeremy. Hopefully Jeremy comes back. Right now he's just he's a blank screen. So we'll jump over to the East Coast and Coach Johnson. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Actually, not East Coast tonight.
Wait, are you still in Brazil?
Yeah, I'm East Coast, but Southern Hemisphere.
there you go. There you go.
Yeah. Wow, I can't believe Chardal's got Kyle Shanahan fired already.
Yeah, he's
ready to clean house.
Yeah, he's ready to move on from him.
I mean, I've gotten to the point where I really started to question him, and I'm open to that, But I think you got to see what happens the rest of the season before you come to that conclusion. But because if I had my guess, the way things are trending, it doesn't look good. But I mean, all things aside, it's the NFL. Like the Niners could theoretically win every game out. I don't think it's gonna happen, but if they did do that, I wouldn't be clamoring to fire Kyle Shanahan. Nor if they made the playoffs, and I don't think I would either. But
yeah, I'm with you. I think really it's probably 2 years before they move on from Shanahan. I think unless they don't win another game this year and end up 2-15, I think he's going to be back after this year. And I think next year, if he is kind of the make or break year really for him, if this season goes south.
Right. If this season goes south, it's. I don't think there's there's two questions. There's should they reset on the regime and will they? I don't think they will because of how they've already structured both of their, they just re-signed. Didn't they just re-sign Lynch a couple months ago? Like, I don't know. They got his extension done after Kyle's, but it took long. It took it was a little bit. Was it like a year later?
I think the original. I think it was originally talked about right after. It was right the same time period, but then it took a little bit longer to get announced.
Yeah, that's a lot of money I know it's a lot of money to flush down the toilet. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be another year because the fact that they went out and they brought in Trey Lance and all that kind of stuff. I don't think you make that move if you're going to just dump the coach after 1 year. I think I think they're going to give him 2, but after next year, if it's a failure again, I think then you might see them move on from him.
Yeah. Kyle, I haven't said this on Grant's show, but Kyle's got to be careful. He's in that Washington Redskins email system. I mean, if there's anything in there and Jed's looking for an out,
That's a good point. That's a really good point, and that whole thing's an interesting scenario in its own right.
Yeah, just saying. I mean, listen. I'm not to jump on a different subject, but I'm all for. I think John should have been fired for what he did and all that. But if you guys look into it and look at by their reports that leak was purposely leaked by the NFL, and they wanted John gone, so they basically provided the ammunition to do it.
Yeah, there was definitely there's been people that write a lot better than me that have put out there that this was, and like you said, Gruden should have been gone, but the way that this has kind of played out really doesn't look well on the NFL and the way they do business, and you've even seen the people that brought the original suit against the Washington football team say that as well. That hey, if you're going to do this, then you should just be releasing everything and let everything be seen.
Yeah, you're pulling out dirt on a person that the investigation wasn't even part. He wasn't even part of the investigation. Pulling out that dirt, but then you found nothing. Like you're not releasing anything else about the investigation.
Yeah, it's a weird situation for sure. And then you throw in what like I was reading yesterday. Gruden deserved to be fired. He deserves to be kind of exiled from the NFL. But you have at the same time that this really shows the difference between players and coaches and ownership. Because while Gruden is gone and he's exiled, you still have the owner of the Redskins or Washington football team that's going to still be there until they, all they did was they slapped him with a $10 million fine and told him that he couldn't go to games for a year. He had to sit out for a year. But Daniel Snyder will be right back in the owner's booth next year, and like nothing happened. And that's the difference between players, coaches, and the management.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of along the same lines, I think if the Niners do hit the reset, I think John, ESPN could really use somebody over in that booth, because since John left, like, it's kind of been real bland. So over in that Monday night booth. Although Peyton and Eli, I don't know if you've seen their broadcast, but I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, anything's got to be better than Steve Levy and that crew that they have on there right now. That's the crew that was like the B crew, and now they're the guys that did the second Monday night game in the past, right? Now they're the show, and it's not good.
The Steve Levy crew, it's not as bad as like when it was like Booger and he had the like elevator chair.
The Booger Mobile.
Yeah, that one was terrible. But yeah, they certainly do miss John Gruden or some sort of personality that can try and do there. I think Peyton and Eli are really good. If you guys haven't checked them out, it's different, but it's really good. Like when they come on with NFL players, I've seen a couple where like Stafford will come on and then Russell Wilson will come on and they'll watch the game with Russell and Stafford, and it's really interesting to see the insights of guys that are playing right now and then talking through certain plays and things like that. It's a cool little thing. And then obviously you have Peyton and Eli's insight. We're both very, Peyton gets credit for how bright he is, but so is Eli. They both have a good sense of humor too. So it's a nice watch, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too. It's fun to watch. It's when in the college football championship games and in the playoffs, usually they'll do at least ESPN. I've seen them do it before, where they do the All 22 show on the other channel, and they have some of the coaches on there and stuff like that join on to give their insights of the game, and that's fun to watch. But those guys are still running teams and working in the universities and what have you, and not able to really get in there and maybe give all the insights they'd want to. Whereas Peyton and his brother, they don't care. They're just on there having a good time.
No, and so if you guys want to check out something different next Monday, I think they're coming back next Monday. It's worth to watch.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So. I don't. What are you're kind of, I think, about the same place I am with the game this Sunday. I think it's toss up. It could go either way.
Yeah, I'm there. I've just I think that the Colts are a better team than some 49er fans want to give them credit for. They've played. They're 2-2 in their last 4. 2-4 overall. And their 2 losses were to a Seattle team that's already beaten the 49ers and to a Rams team by only 3 points that the 49ers haven't played yet, but everybody seems to think is going to be one of the best in the league.
If you've looked at it, though, and I think to everyone's point, because the people say, oh, well, the Niners have played, their losses have all been close. Well, their wins have all been close. So really all year, their games have all been close. So really, like, their games could go either way, like any which way you look at it. It's just kind of like a little bit of roll of the dice. And to be honest, the most part, that's the majority of NFL. But the good teams, right, are the ones where they have a good majority of games where there's not that quite, like, they could throw a pick and still be in the game. Like those, we've seen I think the Rams maybe this year. The Cardinals have had one or two of those games. I think the Rams have had one or two of those games. The really good teams have those, and then then you have your couple of roll of dice games too. But to me, I think the Niners are. I think they're going to end up being like around a 5, maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, 500.
Yeah, I agree. I think the 49ers, I saw something yesterday, or it might have been earlier today, where they were talking about, why are you so down on the 49ers? They're 2-3, but they were right in all three of their losses. And, I just decided not to respond to the tweet about it. But really, I mean, that's Kyle Shanahan in 2017. That's what he said when the team was losing 9 in a row, right? The beginning of the season. I think it was after loss 5 or 6, and he came out about how, no team in NFL history that he knows of has had such a small margin of defeat over that length of time. But it doesn't matter. The NFL is about wins and losses. I don't care if it's been close. If you're losing, you're losing. It doesn't matter if you're losing by 10 or losing by 3. And the 49ers aren't a well-run team right now.
Correct. And I think maybe they're not only not, it doesn't look like they're well run, but like there's a lot of issues in finding some direction. Like what direction are they going in? And I think that to me is the biggest problem, because that directly contributes to how well you're going. Like if you could be a bad team, but if you at least you have some direction, at least you have a focus point. You know where you're going. You have a plan. To me, it looks like there's 2 like type divergent plans, or maybe even 3, and they kind of got their foot in every direction and don't really have one.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by well run, is that they don't seem to have a set plan, or 1 week they're all of a sudden whatever they did last week, that was totally weird compared to what they normally do, and they're just all over the board. And when you've got a quarterback who you've really only built him up to be a running back in a lot of ways. And then you've got the other guy who's your quarterback, but you're trying to get rid of him. It doesn't really, it just doesn't make sense what they're doing to me.
And especially if those reports are true that Mack was Kyle's guy, it kind of started there, because like I think they did make the right choice. I've said as much. I felt strongly about Lance over Mac Jones. However, I do feel that your head coach, specifically an offensive head coach, like whatever guy you pick, your quarterback needs to be his guy. And just by putting Kyle in that situation, or putting themselves in that situation, they've essentially created this. And if they felt like they were going to go with Trey, and despite what Kyle felt, they should have just moved on from Kyle at that point, instead of sticking with Kyle with a guy that he doesn't really feel strongly about, or maybe feels like there were better options, because that ultimately isn't gonna work out.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing that already, right? With what's been taking place. And the hardest part is if you keep Garoppolo and you make this big move to get Lance, you decide that you tell everybody you're going to keep Garoppolo, and you're doing that, and you have 2 quarterbacks that are completely different in their skill sets, and you're trying to mesh 2 different offenses into one, and you're missing time, and it's just I'm not sure about the whole thought process that went on, and I agree with you. If Shanahan didn't want this guy and the entire organization felt that's who they needed to go, then they should have just moved on from him and taken the quarterback they wanted and brought somebody in who really wanted to coach him. If that's what,
right, because you're essentially like, if that was the case, I could have told you then that this is what Kyle was going to do. Like he wasn't going to, because if he didn't believe in Lance, he's not going to play him when you want to play. He's going to play the guy that he feels that he's always going to, there's always going to be something in the back of his mind. Like, to prevent him from playing this guy, or to try to show you that this wasn't his guy. Like, whoever it is, it has to be a person that someone really has conviction and believes in, and is ultimately tied to. Like, and I just, to me, that's a recipe for disaster. Aside from you inheriting somebody, that's different. Like, if Kyle inherited part of the roster when he arrived. I mean, when Harbaugh arrived, he inherited Alex Smith. He didn't have to embrace him. He did. I mean, eventually he moved on from him, but he did embrace him initially. But that was a different situation because he didn't have a choice. They did have a choice with Lance or whoever that they felt like they wanted, and whoever they felt like Kyle wanted. So,
yeah, for me, this whole thing is the biggest mistake that they've made. And I don't have a problem with the fact that they took Trey Lance if that's what the team wanted. My thing is you don't make that move and keep Jimmy Garoppolo around. You just can't do it. And the reason it's different, I understand that the 49ers kept trying to spin it like the Alex Smith situation, right? But it's not the Alex Smith situation. Alex Smith never took the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. He never made there. They always failed before they got there. And I understand the 49ers didn't actually win it, but Garoppolo was responsible for help. He was the quarterback that was in charge when they got there. And I think there's a group of guys, and you pretty much know who they are on the offensive side, who are 100% behind Garoppolo. And it's going to take a while for them to get on board with Lance. And you throw that in with the whole deal that's going on with the playbook and having set plays that only one quarterback's going to run. And it's just a real mess. If they need to move on. And I've heard people mention that they, Andy Dalton is the guy that they wanted to bring in before Dalton signed in Chicago. And that's a fine name, but you're still in the same position as you are now with that. I think if you were going to move on from Garoppolo, it should have been a guy like Mitchell Trubisky. A guy that's a veteran on a cheap deal that you can bring in that is capable of running all the same things that you want to run with Lance eventually, so that your offense can be one cohesive unit, always doing the same thing regardless of who the quarterback is. And right now the 49ers have three quarterbacks in their room, and two of them do completely different things than one of them.
Right. And that's a problem. And I think you could also see, you can see it in actually the run game, because there were some even run assignments in the quarterback run assignments. I felt like that were missed assignments, because they don't normally run those runs, and they normally don't run those runs, and they don't normally run them that way. I think when you're running with an option tag on it, you're leaving a defender unblocked. So it changes your run scheme.
Yeah, for some of the option stuff, I understand where you're going with that. With some of the interior runs and things like that they're doing with him, though, those should be plays that you're running regardless, because it's just like he becomes your halfback. At least that's the way I look at it. Except for maybe you have another lead blocker somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, to Grant's point, I think you probably made it too. You can also run all your main stuff with Lance too. He's done it in college. He's done the good majority of that stuff in college. Like, he knows it. So like, he might not know it. He at this point he probably does, but I mean the terminology. But I mean he knows how to run a boot. He knows how to. He knows that stuff. Like
yeah. No, that's that's part of what I think that should have been part of what you liked him for. I'm starting to wonder if they really liked him because of the fact that he ran stuff that was so similar to what they did, or if it was more Shanahan deciding he was going to go in that direction because of the whole 11-man football thing. Because that's what he keeps talking about it. And he said that a couple of times during the run up to the draft. And he was all over that last week with Greg Papa before the game against Arizona. And then we saw how the game played out.
Where the hell is Leak? Like, we've seen, like, it's one of Kyle's favorite plays. And Lance he's ran it in college. Like, Where is it?
No, absolutely. We really haven't seen any of those kind of plays. Like, we kind of saw him run something similar, but it wasn't a wide leak. We saw him run the wheel route with the curl, sitting there, but it wasn't leak at all. But I know what you're saying. It's definitely there's a lot of creativity that's been left on the table right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy your night. Enjoy. Do guys check out if you can. I watched Bayer Baller. I think he did a call during the Olympics. He's pretty good at it. So it's worth checking him out for a couple minutes. He's pretty good at the basketball play-by-play stuff.
He's doing the yeah, that's what I heard. He's doing the Warriors over there. So I'll have to check him out too.
All right, Jack.
All right, Coach. Have a good night. Thanks for calling in.
You too. Yep,
All
you
right.
got it.
Goodbye. All right, real quick before we go on. Well, Runa had sent this in a little while ago. This was back in regards to Chardal's call as far as not being able to sign. Jack can't sign due to conflict of interest. The fire Kyle Shanahan petition. He's right on that, and but I appreciate the $2, Runa. That's awesome. I kind of miss being able to talk to Runa. He didn't call in tonight. That's a bummer. Let's see if Jeremy's still here. His name's here, but I don't think Jeremy. Are you around, Jeremy? I think Jeremy might have ditched us tonight. I think he just forgot that he's in the thing. We had Amin the Dream in for a minute earlier too, and I didn't get to him fast enough, and he bounced out. So that looks like it's going to be about the show tonight. We'll cut it short at about an hour. Had some good calls, definitely some interesting conversation. The definite vibe around the 49ers right now seems to be some dissatisfaction with the job being done by Kyle Shanahan and the job being done by John Lynch. The quarterback is going to be a topic until they finally decide that Trey Lance is the guy and he's going to be playing for them all the time, and they move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. But until then, it's going to be back and forth, and I think we're seeing that play out on the field as well. So there's just a lot of things that are going on there. And while Runa joined us, whoa. Well, Runa, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Sorry, I was listening to the show while helping around with the family, so that's why I didn't call you.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. You're out there getting your little quarterback ready to go.
Yes. I mean, she can play either center or quarterback.
That's right. She snaps. She has a harder snap than Alex Mack, and she throws her passes have about the same spiral on them as Trey Lance. So she's ready to go.
Yes. Yeah. I'm excited as the coach.
There you go. Keep it up.
So how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing okay. So it's been a regular week, just as usual. So I wanted to ask you a question because last week you mentioned about when I asked the question. I think everyone, I literally, Shardol made the verdict today that we have to fire Kyle Shanahan to Vegas. So I think now we can do it because the verdict is out there. So you mentioned the name of Oklahoma Sooners coach. So my question to you is, when it comes to a coach, I see him as a coach like who is ready to make bold decisions. I believe he benched Spencer Rattler. That's his quarterback's name. So benched the quarterback and won with his backup quarterback when they were trailing and stuff. So if you are the owner, because Sunil. So if you are the owner, are you going to pair Trey Lance, a quarterback with talent but a very green, with a college coach, or someone who has not been a head coach of an NFL franchise but still have some experience in the league? What would you choose in that scenario?
I like both. I like the fact that Lincoln Riley, coming from Oklahoma, he's had success there, and he's getting the experience of being a head coach, which I like. I like that. And the other person that I would say is probably right up there with him would be Brian Daboll out of Buffalo, and a lot of that's just because of he's again, that's another coach who's had success at different levels. He was you've seen him kind of help be an instrumental piece in rebuilding the Buffalo Bills. You saw him be successful at Alabama. He spent time with New England as well. He's been around the league quite a bit, but he's had success too, and so that's the biggest piece is the success, and that's the one. That's why I get on. That's the biggest thing for if Kyle Shanahan had success everywhere he'd been, and maybe his teams weren't winning, but his offenses were putting up points. Like everybody says, he's an offensive genius. Well, then you might my point of view on him would change. But I think for Trey Lance, I think Lincoln Riley would be a fine coach. I think he's a guy who runs an offense that matches up with some of the things that Lance does fairly well. My only question there is that we haven't really seen much of a run game out of Oklahoma. There's not a whole lot to that run game, so that brings me back to Daboll.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't mind having a successful college coach come in and take over, though either. That wouldn't be being at the college level wouldn't keep me from wanting to bring you in.
yeah, unless it's Urban Meyer, I would agree with anyone.
Well, that's a different situation there because Urban Meyer's been successful everywhere that he's gone. He's bounced around. He might be successful in the NFL eventually, but there's a lot of other things that come along with him that
Yes.
that even if he is successful, we've already seen it hit him a little bit in Jacksonville. But you do have to say the Jacksonville quarterback does look like he's been improving as the season's gone along.
Yes.
So
that's true. So I think my other question is like, let's say, end of the season, we have some level of success in terms of maybe we are making the playoffs or having a winning season, a barely winning season, let's say 10-7, something like that. But are you still comfortable keeping Kyle Shanahan on this team? Because my major worry is keeping Kyle Shanahan, let's say until 2023, what he is going to do with Trey Lance. Is he going to ruin Trey Lance? I'm not going to take that chance. Are you willing to take that chance? Because it feels like Trey Lance is the most priced possession we have right now. So Trey Lance is the priority over Kyle Shanahan. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I think if Kyle Shanahan's going to keep trying to utilize Trey Lance like what we saw him do in that game against Arizona, then that's not a good fit. That's not at all what you want to see because he basically got Trey Lance hurt by running him so much. And there's no you don't ever want to have your quarterback be in that physical. You don't want him to get hit 5 or 6 times in a game, let alone 16 times based on runs plus the sacks that he took in the pocket. That's unacceptable. He got sacked twice and he ran the ball 16 other times, right? I think it was 2 sacks. That's 18 hits, not counting the plays that were called back as due to a penalty or something like that, and so there was no play on it. So we're talking about only the 59 that were actually recorded for stats. There was other plays throughout the game as well that he got hit. It's too much. There's a reason why running backs have a short span in the league, and it's because of the number of hits they get. And doing that with Trey Lance in his first start, that's negligence.
Yes, I totally agree with you. So my final question before I let you go is there any news about Jeff Wilson Jr. when he's coming back? Because I feel like more than Jason Barrett, at the moment we are missing Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert because we need either one of them to succeed in the run game. Even though we have Mitchell, Sermon, I badly need one of them. But is there any news on that? On Jeff Wilson?
Yeah, no, the deal with Wilson, he's still a little ways out. So I don't foresee them getting him back until sometime in November. I think they'll probably open up his practice window sometime around the 1st of November, just because of the type of injury he had. So I think we're still a little ways out for him. And I think I heard something along those lines from Shanahan last week during his time with the media.
Okay, that breaks my heart. I want one of them.
Well, it's not that far off. It's not that far off. November 1st is only 2 weeks away.
Yeah, the problem is season might be done by the time he returns. So
No,
to be honest, I predict even this week is a loss as well.
yeah, it's funny because back before the start of the season, this Colts game was a game that everybody looked at and said this is going to be a really tough game for the 49ers. Colts are really good,
Yeah.
and so on. And the Colts kind of come out of the season, out of the gates, struggling a little bit because their quarterback's been injured and gone for a few weeks. Now they're starting to get it together, and this Colts team is one that, if you expect to be a playoff team and be a kind of a middle of the road playoff team, meaning like like a 5 or 6 seed, you win this game. I don't. I think like I said, I have the 49ers maybe a 23-20 winner, but I really feel like this is going to be a loss the more that I think about it and talk about it.
Yeah. It's
Hopefully I'm wrong. Wait, but the thing is, we've been through this with the 49ers. We've been through losing season after losing season since 2002. So, I think 49er fans should be pretty used to getting their scouting reports out and focusing on the draft right around Thanksgiving, because that's about what they've done for the last 14 years, with a few exceptions.
That's true. Because one last thing, today I wrote an published article, and I found a weird stat. Since 2000, Cincinnati Bengals have been to playoffs more than 49ers. They have been to playoffs 7 times, while we are just 6 times.
Who is that again?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, well, they did. They went to there was a time there when Andy Dalton was the quarterback that they were going to the playoffs on a regular basis with Andy Dalton. I can't remember who the coach was. Lovie Smith, when they were together there. Not Lovie Smith, excuse me. Marvin something or other. Darn it. Lovie Smith was in Chicago. Yeah, let me look it up really quick. But they had their coach there, and when Andy Dalton was in the early part of his career, they were going to the playoffs on a regular basis. They just could not. Marvin Lewis was the head coach, but they just couldn't get past. They just weren't winning in the playoffs, but they're getting there on a regular basis, and that's kind of. I mean, if the 49ers were getting to the playoffs on a regular basis, I'm different than other folks. I know there's a lot of people who say Super Bowl or whatever. If you're not winning the Super Bowl, it's not worth it. But that's not me. I think I want to see a team that's competitive every year, and 6-10 with a bunch of close losses to me isn't competitive.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, that's why I really like Pittsburgh Steelers, Packers. Year in and year out, they are competitive. They put some show, win bunch of games. I mean, here and there they get the Super Bowl, because winning Super Bowl is not something easy. Because to this day there are 12 teams that have never won a Super Bowl out of 32 teams. So it's not something really easy. So at least if you are into playoffs, that means your team is doing something right. So that's where I am really disappointed about Kyle.
Yeah,
Where he's going to go and his intentions are.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, Shanahan's only been to the playoffs 4 times in his career, so he did it once with Houston, once with Washington, the one season in Atlanta, and he did it here in year 3. So there's not a lot of success. There's not a lot of track record, and it stinks because somebody even said this to me today. Like, when was the last time you tweeted something positive about the 49ers? And how do you go? You've got to really go out of your way to tweet something positive about a team that's 2-3 and on a 3-game losing streak. I'm sorry. I try to be positive, and I think there's some good players on this team, but the way that the thing's being handled right now isn't a good situation.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, we are being positive doesn't change anything unless otherwise the front office and coaching staff get their act together.
Exactly. Exactly. And like Chester here says, for the last 20 years, you have 5 good seasons, 2002, 2011, 12, 13, and 19. So he's lowered his expectations, and that's 40.
Yes.
That's the life of a 49er fan for the last 20 years.
Yes. Yes,
So
that's true.
it's been
Okay, it
rough.
was great talking to you tonight.
It was great to have you on and chat with you, and keep up the good work over at All 49ers SI, and keep calling in because I enjoy talking with you, even if you disagree with me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good night, Jack.
You too, Aruna. Have a good night.
Okay.
Aruna, he's one of the legends on the show, and one of the legends. Period. He's a great guy. He's been extremely supportive of my channel from the time I started with it, and he does really good things. He writes over for the All 49ers SI crew, and just does a really good job there. So I'm going to go ahead and close this for the night. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. Those of you that called in, I really appreciate it. We had one new caller this week, and that's awesome. And thank you to all the others that followed back up, Gavin, and obviously Coach, and who are the other ones that called back in? We had Chardal. How could I forget Chardal? And if I'm missing your name, I apologize, and that's totally on me. I probably should have even tried to start listing you guys off. But anyway, I appreciate you coming on tonight. The 49ers are going to turn this thing around at some point. If it's going to be this year or not, I don't know. But right now, this is a team, like I said, they're 2-3. There's an opportunity to make the playoffs, though. They're only a half game out right now. So if they can turn this thing around and come out in the second half, and I say second half, but it's at this time after the bye over these last 12 weeks, if they can come out here, I think the team needs to really get to 10 wins. So I think over 15 games, if they can get 8-7, if they get to 8-7, they're going to be at what's that? Right now they're at 2 + 8 is 10. So yeah, it puts them right around that range. Not 8-7, it'd be 8-4. So if they can get to 8-4, I think they're in the playoffs. That puts them at 10-7 on the season. And I think that's a tough ask, but definitely I think what's going to take. So let's hope the 49ers can get 8 wins here over the next 12 and make it to the playoffs. Otherwise, we'll be watching some other teams come January 16th and 15th. So I appreciate everybody coming on, and enjoy chatting with you every week. Keep your heads up. Have a good rest of your week, and I will be back with you later on. I'm not sure if I'll be on again this week or not up and before Sunday. I definitely will be on Sunday morning with Surreal Sunil here on this channel for the 49er game day preview show. And we always have a good time at that. That'll be right around 2 o'clock on Sunday. Other than that, have a great night, and talk with you soon. Thank you.